Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now today is Sunday, so you know what that means. We're going around the net with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. And we have a few interesting stories for you today. We will touch on some TSA and clear contention, if you will. We will, of course, talk about MGM rebounding very quickly to get over their Hyatt breakup that we talked about last week. We have a follow-up on the Elegant Office Amex offer debacle from last week. It's just for entertainment. And we have an update on some Capital One lounges that could be opening up pretty soon. So of course, if that sounds interesting to you, then go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, we will lead off with an interesting card that I actually didn't know existed, but a viewer sent in. So American Airlines has been going over and doing some changes to the AA Advantage line, specifically the executive card that we covered last week, and also Admirals Club as well, of course, hiking prices. But they also have basically an American Airlines, I'm going to call it almost like a store credit card, if you will, because if you take a look, you can only use this card for American Airlines purchases. Well, if you have this card, then you're getting letters. Again, this was sent in by a viewer or reader of profitable content. You're getting letters that are basically saying, hey, this card starting October 15th of this year will no longer be able to be used for American Airlines purchases on AA.com. The reason being is because they are going to start phasing this card out sometime in 2024, which really reads as if they don't really know what they want to do with the program yet, but they're going to get rid of it at some point. So if this is you, then I think it'd be fine to look at some of the AA Advantage cards that Citi offers. If nothing else, we know the executive is coming out with at least a 100,000-mile welcome offer when the refresh takes place. So just a PSA, and I guess they're one of those that, hey, I don't know every card out there on the market. Now, sticking with our travel theme, if you don't like waiting in security lines, well, this one is for you. Everyone knows Clear, the setup that's usually right next to PreCheck, where you can go in, with your face scans, biometric, fingerprint, eye scans, things like that. And it gets you through the first part of TSA very quickly. Of course, you still have to go through the TSA screening, where they go through at least you walk through their, scanner, metal detector, what have you, as ideally you have TSA PreCheck. Well, a few different things here. One, it has been decided in quotes that now if you're going through Clear, IDs, physical government IDs will have to be checked more often. Now, they don't go into detail about how much, if it's going to be literally every person now has to show an ID, or it's going to be more of a random check. I think it's written as it's supposed to be more of a random check, but checking more frequently, and that is kind of decided by the TSA, who, Clear is technically, independently run, but they still have to adhere to, TSA, standards, if you will, when doing these security checks, which is somewhat odd because they're right next to each other, and you still have to go through a TSA screening. Now, the article, again, from TPG went on to say, this is related from some kind of security incident. I think someone got through who shouldn't have gotten through. They didn't really go into much details. It's a little bit annoying. It's almost more interesting for a conversation than anything else. I would imagine your retinal scans and your fingerprint scans are probably more secure than an ID, which, is getting harder to fake as they shift to those real IDs, which, have stars on them, or if you're close to a border, you can get one of the American flag sticker icon where you can just cross the border without a passport. There was a push to switch to those IDs. That got pushed back a while ever since the lockdown. I don't know if it's been reinstated or a new target date has been set, but every time you're in the airport, there's always signs, hey, we're switching to real IDs by X date. But anyways, you would still think the scans were more secure. So they didn't go into too much detail. To me, this kind of reads as like, hey, something happened and you didn't follow our method, which is scanning the ID and taking a look at the boarding pass. So we're going to implement that as well, which I guess it's fine. It's still, hopefully doesn't slow the line up too much. In addition to that, there was talk of, actually, the best way I'll put it is TSA kind of embracing / copying the facial recognition deal and being able to adopt some of that technology in their own lines, on the tail of I think TSA and PreCheck were also discussed. TSA PreCheck and Clear were also discussed as potentially merging into one application. So we have a lot going on here. I can't really tell if they like each other and they're going to actually merge or not. Overall, I know it's sometimes controversial when you say, hey, we're giving now face scans to the government, but in my opinion, they probably already have them anyway, so I don't think it's actually that big of a deal. So if it helps me get through the line, so be it. Because for some reason, we just won't buy more of the dogs. If you've ever been in the line with the dog, that is the quickest line you'll ever go through. So those are your TSA and Clear updates. Now, as we're on the road in this episode, we have our next story, which sees MGM back. They're done swiping on the apps very quickly. Last time they broke up with Hyatt, and a few days later, they've now announced their new partnership with Marriott. Go figure. So we don't have a ton of information yet. There is a press release basically just saying, hey, they are now going to join forces. Marriott's going to take the place of Hyatt, but the full details I think will come sometime closer to October when this actually goes live, because we don't know a ton. They did list some of the properties that are coming over, but the press release still says, this agreement between MGM Resorts and Marriott will also benefit members of both companies' loyalty programs, members of MGM Rewards, MGM Resorts, acclaimed loyalty platform with more than 40 million members globally, yada, yada, yada. And of course, 180 million for Marriott. So really, I think it ended up being like a numbers play of sorts. I think while Hyatt is very popular here, I think Hyatt's popular because their categories were recently decently priced, and they had the powerful transfer partner in Chase, and this MGM thing helped a lot. Marriott probably brings in many more customers. Marriott's the leader ever since that SPG merger in 2016, 2017. So overall, they are replacing that. We'll have to see the details, like what status matches to what. I think Ask Sebi did a much better video segment on this earlier in the week, but I agree with him from the sense that it can't match one-to-one. Like Marriott Gold is not going to give you MGM Gold because Marriott Gold is like really easy to get, and a lot of people actually have it. At one point I had it just from actual stays, so I don't think it's going to match one-to-one. I think they'll probably bump it up and it'll be off-centered a little bit. So, you would probably need like Marriott, titanium to match up to MGM Gold, which you can still get titanium by getting the Bomboy Brilliant card from American Express. The Ritz-Carlton card still decently, but I think it only gives you gold. So, this could, if you're already a Marriott person or you're an MGM person, this could make those cards a little bit more valuable for you. Overall, what you should think about this, or what I think, it's a little bit too early to tell, what the partnership's going to look like. I still think it will mirror Hyatt. The biggest, one question will be, what are the Marriott Bonvoy point redemptions look like at MGM? I can't imagine they're going to be great, but it's still a redemption option. You don't have to pay cash. And what do those status matches look like? Those are probably the two biggest questions overall. Obviously this is focused at Vegas, Atlantic City, and there's a few others. I think there's even an MGM Motor City here in Detroit. It was like 40 minutes for me that's on the list of properties as well. Now, the other thing I'd worry about is, Hyatt's popular here, but overall, we just talked about Marriott is the largest chain out there. So do we end up in a potential devaluation where there's just too many people now have access to this? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I think that would be one concern I would have if I was like a frequenter of, originally trying to status match Hyatt to MGM. So again, we won't know until later in the year, but it is interesting, and now we can see why Hyatt got the boot. Probably just a play for a bigger partner in Marriott because that was announced very fast, so the deal had already been done, and now we're good to go. Now, with that, we cover two more things. We're on the road all day with this show. One of you guys reached out and you asked me, what's the deal with Capital One lounges? They had DFW, but that's been open for quite some time. Have they forgotten about the other lounges? Are we just giving them a pass? Well, the answer now is that we could potentially have one new lounge opening, and that is going to be the one in Washington. So if we take a look, 1 mile at a time got us this story, or View from the Wing maybe, but either way, they're borrowing it from somebody else, so it's fine. But either way, try to give people credit. So the lounge that we're looking at is Washington Dulles, and they have some pictures here of, still under construction, but you can see it looks like it's mostly assembled, so you can kind of go through the pictures here and see. So we assume that this means, hey, it could be coming very soon. Looks like they're just really putting the finishing touches on, which is good to see because, again, to the viewers' points, and I know some of you have commented about this as well, that like, hey, we've been talking about this lounge network forever, but it hasn't really, come to fruition yet, I guess you could say. So, there's that. We'll keep an eye on it, of course, and of course, if you're out there by the airport, you can see what's going on. Let us know what you see. Now, in addition to that, they still had a few more coming, plus some Capital One landings, I think, which is kind of like some restaurant plays as well. So, again, there's not been an updated order coming out or like ETA by Capital One. This is just based on pictures that we're seeing. I don't even know if someone just went in and took these pictures or Capital One's providing them or what. So Either way, we're looking like we're getting one more to add to the list. Now, with that, we have one more story here to close on. It's kind of a follow-up to last week's show. We talked about that Elegant Office Amex offer, and the Cliff Notes version is Elegant Office is like an office supply store company online that offers ridiculously priced office supplies and things like that. And they had put out an Amex offer for basically spend $100, get $100 back. So as you can imagine, you just spend as close to $100 as you can get and get your golden stapler for basically free. Well, that offer ended very quickly, and the office store was basically like, hey, this is going to be enough offers to bankrupt us. So no. Well, they put out an official email. So let's take a look at that to kind of close the loop on this story. And again, here we have it. This was, of course, posted on Reddit. We won't necessarily go through all of it, but dear Elegant Office customers, in our 23 years of business, we've always, strived to provide top-level service. So they actually go through and describe the offer here. So we missed the mark as our credit card promotion launched in error. The result in orders that we could not fulfill going out of business. This promotion was spend $100 to get $100, as we mentioned, but should have had a minimum redemption value of $225. As a small business, of course, they couldn't handle it. They're talking about 30 to 50 orders a day, which still seems like a lot given what they sell. And then they had almost 2,000 orders with an average order total of $100.04, which is probably just like the tax tacked onto it. So, of course, we initially tried to fulfill the orders, however, due to inventory constraints, on and on and on. Our free shipping policy of overs of $75, that also hurt them as well. So there you go. I mean, the interesting thing is I don't know if they truly messed up, like, hey, they actually meant, because it's really hard to mess up 100 and 225. Not to say that it's never happened before, but really when you look at it, I still think they just didn't know what was going to happen. It was like 30 to 50 orders. I just don't think they expected to get nearly 2,000 orders. That free shipping also does make sense. If it's free shipping on orders of $75 or more, you're shipping all those out. There's only $4 you're making on order. That's probably, the final order total is probably just going to taxes or people getting as close as they could. So I don't know. I just really thought that story was more interesting than anything else. I didn't hear too much from it, but if you got your stuff, if you use the offer, I'd love to hear from you down below. Just send me a picture of your golden stapler, if you will. Was it worth it? I guess for $4, it would be worth it. So anyways, guys, that has been the news for this week. So, of course, if you liked it, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, consider subscribing to the channel. As, of course, we're posting content just like this every single week and right back here every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. And, of course, if that's not enough for you, every single day over on profitablecontent.com, which is the channel's blog where we have the latest news stories, bank promotions, and credit card offers. So let me know what you think about these stories. Are you hopeful that you can cash in better with this Marriott MGM deal? Do you want a golden stapler? What else is going on in the news? Love to get your thoughts on all of it down below. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. So as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you very soon this week.